Good morning, friends, and welcome to Gardening with Creekside. It is bright and early here at the house, and oh goodness, we are installing a whole house generator today. Did not really have this on the plans for today, but the fella came out yesterday. We gave him the green light, and he said, "Great, we can install it tomorrow morning." And I was like, "My goodness, let's talk about some great service." There you go. So what we're doing right now, as you can see, we're on the back side of the house, and Jerry has the excavator. He is actually back here digging to make sure that he knows exactly where the gas line is, because this is going to be a whole house generator. Obviously, we have come through Helene and we were without power. It's not so much that the house is without power, although that's part of it. Remember, the well here at the house and the power also sources that at the retail garden center, so it kind of encompasses everything. The whole house generator is going to go exactly where my beloved tea olive is. It just makes the absolute most sense because, as you can see on the other side of the excavator, we have our HVAC systems over here. So it makes the most sense. It's out of the way, it's easily accessible if they need to, service it or whatever, for it to go basically right here where the tea olive is. Fellas were here bright and early. I mean, they were here at 8 o'clock this morning, didn't have quite time. I mean, the salesman was here yesterday at 3 in the afternoon, and then they're here first thing. So we're going to have to take out this tea olive and then probably go ahead and pop out my Russian sage, and I think probably just the Russian sage will have to come out. But yeah, the tea olive is gonna have to go. Depending on how that root system comes out with the excavator, we may try to relocate it. I absolutely adore having this tea olive right here because, it's one of my absolute most favorite fragrances ever. And being right here at the back porch, we can smell it really, really well. We'll figure it out, y'all. We'll figure it out as we go. So what Jerry's going to do is go ahead and pop this out. And so like what he's pulling out right now are my supports for my peonies. So we'll dig all those up too as well. Relocate everybody for now. Thankfully, it is a nice, cool, crisp morning here. So yeah, there we go. So what we're gonna do is just go ahead and pop these plants out of here, and then I think George and Levi, those are our guys who are here to set up the generator. So let's just go with the flow here at the circus of Creekside. Okay, so the tea olive, she's out. I think we would be able to save it. It obviously would not be blooming this year, but Jerry was able to get it out, get a pretty good extensive amount of the root ball out with that. So what we will do is find where she's gonna go, and then basically I will really severely prune the plant back. And the reason that I would do that is because you've got, gosh, this thing was 8-9 feet tall, and when you've done something as violent as rip it out of the ground like that, what you want to do when you're trying to preserve the plant, I'm not thinking about immediately and trying to make sure that she's beautiful and flowering and green this year. I'm trying to think about the long-term longevity of the plant. And so what I want to happen right now in this winter and really the next year is that the root system gets really well established. So that's why we're going to really prune it back, probably at least by half. That way it's not trying to send a ton of energy into keeping that the other parts of the plant alive. I want it to send most of that energy into producing roots, not trying to keep existing foliage alive. So that is the plan for right now. Like I said, it's a good thing it's a nice, cool, crisp morning because she can sit right there and be totally fine. Went ahead and popped out the Russian sage, a peony, might have to pop out another peony. All this stuff can probably get replanted once the generator's in place, but obviously you've got to get that generator in place. It is going to sit on a 300-pound pad, so the fellas are, obviously you got to make sure that the pad's level, right? And where it is going, that's why it does make the most sense to put it here, is because this is kind of the quote utilitarian side of the house with the HVAC system. It's where the gas goes into the house. We have drainage for like the dehumidifier and those things. So there's a lot of technical things and drains right here. I think they're going to come off 18 inches off the house is what they said, so that way they're clear of the where the gas line is and the drains. So if we need to get in there and work on it, in the coming years, then that's plenty of room for that to happen. It's a good thing that we do have the equipment that we have, because like I said, we were able to pop out that tea olive really quick. And then here is this is the generator. So it's a Generac, of course. Those are the great ones. And if I remember, it's the 18, whatever yes, here we go. So there you go. It is the size, the 18. There's an 18. They have 18s and 26s, I think, or 18s and 24s. So this is the 18 whatever. I don't know. Size 18. I don't know, y'all. It's too early in the morning. But so what happened was, when the salesman came out yesterday, we were talking about, obviously you talk about, what your needs are, what things in the house and that kind of stuff. And then based off of what it's going to be powering, obviously determines the size that you need. So this is a good size for us. And so right now you can see that they're measuring to know exactly where that pad is going to go. And then of course the generator will sit on that. So that's all that George and Levi are doing today, is just setting the generator in its place. So just having to get that nice and level and work on that. It is Scentlandia is right there. I don't know if you can see Jerry whacking at it. Scentlandia loves that spot and naturalizes really well. So I'm like, it's fine. You can whack away. It does not bother me. There's a peony that's right there. I don't want the peony to be whacked at, but as far as the Scentlandia, not a problem at all. Now, as far as we learned a lot about standby generators, and so we have, obviously you've got to power the generator, right? You can't power it off of electricity, because that's the whole point of the generators, because you don't have electricity. So it's got to have a gas source. So you can do natural gas or you can do propane. We have propane already. So our stovetop in the house is run by propane, and then we have a tankless hot water heater. So that too is run by propane. Underneath the deck, right? So right underneath the deck, when we built the house, it's a 250-gallon tank buried under there. So that's what supplies the house, and I mean that lasts us forever, right? But with this, when you're running a whole house, you're going to burn through a ton of propane. So we need a bigger tank. So the plan is that we're going to get a 1,000-gallon tank, a propane tank. This is the same size that we have up at production. The gas company loves us because we've got propane tanks everywhere. So a 1,000-gallon tank, that is quite a large size tank. But what we're going to do is, obviously, generator goes right up towards the house. Then we will trench a line from the generator, and then here we have right up along the woods. It's kind of like the perfect spot back here. We were going to be working on this area anyway and getting it cleaned up and planted and landscaped. So this is a perfect opportunity. So I'm thinking, now we haven't talked to the gas company, but I'm thinking that it will go somewhere like back in here. And of course, with the propane tank, you don't have to leave it bright white, shiny white. You can actually paint them. So we can paint it either like a dark green or a brown, or I can let Jackson go camouflage it with spray paint. He and my daddy love that kind of stuff. So we will paint it so it's not, snowball white, and then obviously we can landscape all in front of it. So that way, that's the power source for the generator, because of course the whole idea is as soon as the power is cut at the house, the generator automatically cuts on. Our neighbors actually have one as well, and yeah, I mean within, I don't know, seconds or minutes of that power going out, like it automatically cuts on. So that's kind of the idea. So with Jerry having the equipment, bringing it around, that works quite well. So we'll just kind of keep you updated on how things are progressing here on a not so normal morning at Creekside. All right, my friends, so it's just a hustle and bustle of activity around here. Got the pad in, no problem. They were like, this never happens. You put it down and it's dead level the first time. They're like, never happens. And I'm like, it is a Creekside miracle for sure. So the pad got in easily. Having that, the little bobcat with the forks makes everything so much easier. Put the generator on there. So now they just have to kind of do all their technical hookup kind of things. Now, tea olive. Impromptu. So we have decided we're going to give her a whirl down here on the edge of the creek. Jackson is using the excavator to dig the hole. Looking at the root ball, it is not exceptionally deep, which is, this is so many plants are like this. Now there are certain ones, of course, that do have deep root systems, but most of them don't. Most of your root systems are, quote, relatively shallow but wide. And if you've been around any kind of storms and you see tree uproots, they've been uprooted from the ground, then you can testify to this. So you see, it's not very deep at all. I mean, the roots, yes, there are some that come down at the absolute max, that's 2 feet. But what you do see is all these roots that were going out. So when Jackson is doing the root, the hole for the roots, I said just make sure that we go nice and wide. So you can see that is what he is doing. Obviously kind of digging up some roots from all the other trees that are here. But this way he's really just going above and beyond. And if you've got the machinery, why not? So he's coming in there, aerating it, getting it nice and fluffy. Another reason that we've chosen this spot is because when we have rains or heavy rains, it naturally, the water comes and drains through here, and then right there it flows down into the creek. So we're not putting the tea olive in the path of the water, but it certainly will get some really good water. I don't know if you can see this little low area right here. It tends to be pretty damp right there. Obviously, there is no irrigation in this spot at all. So we're trying to work with the Lord's and the nature's irrigation, so that way it gets lots of good water. Jerry went to go get the biotone, so of course we'll put the biotone in there. Once we get it planted, then I'll come back through and really, I am gonna severely cut this back so that, again, all that energy that it has will go into the root system and not trying to keep all of that foliage and the existing top growth alive. So we're giving her a haircut today and getting it in the ground, as long as my son doesn't destroy it in the process. All right, my friends, so All right, my friends, so the tea olive, she's in her new home. She's been planted, she's been pruned, she's been composted, she's been top dressed. I will go ahead and get some water on her because we're not supposed to get any rain in the foreseeable future. So obviously I need to get her nice and well watered in. Thankfully, there is a hose on this side of the house. It's not going to reach all the way, so I'll have to do a little bit of a bucket brigade, but we'll get her watered in and then essentially just kind of leave it alone. So just to kind of give you an idea, recap of what we did. Of course, Jackson did a nice wide, not necessarily super deep hole to go ahead and get the osmanthus in. And just for a recap, right, this is a sweet osmanthus. Depending on where you are in the South, some people call it a tea olive, some people call it a sweet olive. It really just kind of is regional as what you call it, but it technically is a osmanthus, right? A sweet osmanthus. Beautiful evergreen shrub, very columnar in its habit. So it has almost like a holly type leaf on it. Some of them, like these, have nice smooth edges, and then some do have a more of a holly type leaf where they have the little jagged edges that can be a little, have a little poke to them, a little stick factor to them. The reason that we love the osmanthus is because, one, they are an evergreen. They make great privacy screens. They are a relatively fast grower. The more water you give them, obviously, the faster they're going to grow. So they do enjoy water, which is going to be great because this is going to be naturally a wet area for it. But my favorite thing about them is their fragrance. They are a fall bloomer, so they will bloom heavily in the fall. And then ours will bloom periodically through the winter and then really kind of again in the spring. But a lovely, deep fragrance to it. I tell people it's kind of like an orange, jasmine, honeysuckle type fragrance to it. You will smell them before you see them. The flowers themselves are very, very tiny, very insignificant. You're not going to see it from a far distance like you would say like a limelight hydrangea, right? You're not going to see it. You're going to smell it. That's why I loved having it where it was, is because we could sit on the back porch, would never see the plant, but we could smell it, and it was divine. So I think this is as good of a place as any for her. My only one kind of concern would be is it going to get enough sun? But honestly, at this point, it's better to put it here than, you know, to toss it, or I just don't have a place immediately where I can think of putting it. And again, y'all, the salesman was out here at 3 o'clock yesterday, and then we're moving this at 8 o'clock in the next morning. So things moved pretty fast, and so we just did what we did. Tons of biotone in this hole. Tons of biotone, brought back all the native soil, did not mix anything with it, just brought all native soil back, and then I used 2 bags of the land and sea compost all the way around it, and then a bag and a half of the Daddy Pete, the soil conditioner. I'm telling you, y'all, if you basically have these 3 products, you can almost just about do anything. The only thing that I would add to that would be a great potting soil. You know, we use the Proven Winners for our containers, but if you're doing landscaping, these 3 things are what you need. The biotone starter fertilizer is for healthy root growth. And after, given what just happened to this sweet osmanthus, then she's going to need a lot of good root growth. Of course, the land and sea is a great compost. This soil is not as bad because it is a low-lying area, so there's a lot of wash that comes here, so a lot of good topsoil and stuff gets deposited right here, but it is still red clay, and you can never have too much organic material, so we top dress with that. Also, this will be a great way to slowly feed the plant throughout all the winter, so as it rains and all that good nutrition will leach down into those roots. And then finally, the Daddy Pete, the soil conditioner. This is just simply aged pine bark fines, and so we're using that as a compost and a way to retain moisture, more insulation for those roots, and then there you go. You might notice this lovely stick with all these roots in it. Y'all, oh my word. So remember when I told you that the vast majority of plants, their roots will go more out than down, and that there were some plants that their roots go really down? So this is a walnut sapling. Excuse me, got a little froggy in my throat. A walnut sapling. My parents, when you come to the nursery, you'll pass by, there's a walnut field. My daddy wanted to grow walnut trees. Not that they really do anything with the fruit. He just wanted to have walnut trees. So there's walnut trees that do produce fruit. So this time of year, through the winter, the squirrels go grab the walnuts and then go everywhere and bury the walnuts, right? Because to come back for food. Y'all, they end up everywhere. We have walnut saplings everywhere. The bad thing about walnut saplings is if you don't get them super early enough, then they are almost near impossible to pull out. And if you just cut it off and just simply cut it off, then it just re-sprouts. So this was a walnut sapling that got buried by a squirrel probably 2 years ago. And because it was literally up inside the osmanthus, I didn't see it when it was little. The only time I finally found it was because, you know, I mean, it was like almost 2-3 feet tall. Could not get it out. This is why I could not get it out. Y'all, look at that root system. This entire root system was tangled up into that osmanthus. It was insane. I had earlier in the season come through and chopped it off and then painted the brush and stump killer. So that part worked, but if I had left it, I would have had to go back and do some more or cut it down lower and do it at the bottom. But yeah, the hardwood trees, if you've got saplings where they don't belong, pull them while they're young, because hardwood trees tend to have more deep and then they go out. Oh my gosh. So while we love the walnut field, I despise the walnut saplings everywhere. And they're in the worst places too. So anyway, we got that out. I digress. Now, fellas are still working on getting everything hooked up. So talking about the next steps as far as the generator. So they're doing their thing, getting things hooked up to the house. We're not going to bother them, but they're up there. Like I said, the propane tank will go somewhere here in the woods. We do not have to worry about this area, even though it's near the creek. We don't have to worry about it flooding because it is quite a high area. So never has it ever flooded here. After Helene and all of her antics, I won't say it will never flood, but you know, if it does, then we got bigger problems to worry about, I guess. So that's where that will go, and then we will have to trench that line from the propane tank to the generator, because that will be the fuel source for the generator. Coming at some point will be an electrician. So the electrician will have to run an electrical line, obviously from the generator and then all through the attic space to back where the forest pansy bed is, because that is where like the main breaker for the entire house is. So then he will connect it so that when the power goes out, the generator turns on. Then when the power comes on, the generator turns off. It's above my pay grade. That's why you have an electrician do that. So that will be the next step that he, like I said, will come through and snake it. He has to snake it all the way up through the house, the back porch, the bonus room, and then out where the forest pansy bed is way back there. But yeah, so there's a great day here. Morning, it's not even, I don't even know what time it is. It's not even 10:30 in the morning. There you go. Haven't had breakfast yet. I'm gonna go get some breakfast and some water. Hadn't even had a drink of water this morning because things moved quite quickly and rapidly this morning. So we got the job done. And yeah, so we'll go on for the rest of our day. But I'll keep you posted on the osmanthus. Once I water this one in, I probably won't need to water it again because of our weather. Cooler. We'll get some more consistent rain and it'll be fine, but I'll water it in now and then just let it go. So that's the thing. It's like sometimes you just have to do things, right? Maybe you don't want to, you have to move a plant, you have to prune a plant. I'm forfeiting my flowers and structure for a year because I'm thinking long-term, right? So sometimes you just have to do what you have to do, and at least we were able to relocate her, and that makes me happy. So as always, we hope you have found this fun, informative, and inspirational. Y'all have a great day. We'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.